If you're seeing this, that means that I am in the hospital waiting for the birth of my fourth child. So it's going to be a long time, and I shouldn't leave you without some dope videos to sleep to. So I decided to make this, amongst others. So if you don't know, I've had for about a year, maybe a little over, this little goofy prop that I made. Okay, it's called the Avant-Garde for rap beats. And basically the idea is this, any beat that goes beyond stock, just a standard beat of its time belongs somewhere on here, And it might be a bit odd, it might be getting out there, it might be weird but chill, it might be, whoa, what? Or it might be freak out. And if it goes too far, then it hits into the gibberish territory, basically unlistenable. So I created this thing, and it's a very arbitrary, kind of goofy idea, just as a way to celebrate rap producers who are doing stuff that's different and really riding that line, because that's the way that art moves forward. I mean, I could have the same thing, for rock and roll. I usually have the Velvet Underground and Nico behind me. That's avant-garde rock music. That's pushing the edges of of what is listenable. It pushes the edges of what's okay. And in doing that, it moves the art forward. Because once you go as far as you can on the strains of listenability, then it makes the whole window larger. So what I wanted to do in this little video while I'm sitting at the hospital, probably eating pudding. Man, I love hospital pudding. It's not better than normal pudding. It's the best food in hospitals. Tell me if you agree in the comments. I thought, well, why don't I do put on my rap history hat and just do the best avant-garde rap beats of all time. I had a whole concept. I was going to contact Justin Hunt and Fantano and, Mike Seatown, like anybody who I've communicated with about rap in the past, 5-6 years, and see if they wanted to tell me, what are their favorite avant-garde rap beats. I had this whole huge idea of a giant stitched together edited thing. I'm getting there. I might do that. I still might do that. And if you are somebody on the internet who makes thoughts about rap music, maybe you would have a place in this theoretical future video. But what I noticed was, I posted this image to my Instagram. I made merch. Hey, how much avant-garde merch have I sold? I'll give you a hint. None. Absolutely none. Everyone said, Sky, make avant-garde merch. Sky, I made the merch. I didn't sell any. That's okay. But I asked, what are your favorite avant-garde beats? And almost all of them were JPEG Mafia, which makes sense because he's very popular and a lot of my audience likes him. And one of my other videos that I'm recording for the hospital is going to be about a Devin Hendricks project. Or, maybe it said, Death Grips or Injury Reserve. And I realized, that's great. And that makes sense because that's the moment that we're in. But what about the founders? What about the beginning? Because rap music has changed so much. It's not just the beat. It's not just the drum break in, I don't know, Apache, it's not just the bongo rock drum break over and over again for all of rap history. There has to be people, pioneers, people who took the art and dragged it forward. So that's what I'm interested in. Historically, what are the artists who have taken the art of hip-hop production and dragged it forward and made stuff that at the time stretched the concept of listenability? Now, so I started this. And I just, by hazard, I happened to notice that I ended up going 82, 83, 85, 86, 87, 80. So I thought, okay, well, screw it. I'll just break this into decades. And we'll just talk about different avant-garde-ometers throughout the decades. So this is part one. And some of these beats might sound to you, kind of stock. But that's the whole idea, is that what used to be revolutionary becomes normalized, and then what is revolutionary becomes normalized. That's how the art keeps growing. That's how we can have so many different sounds, okay? So here's my thought. And again, this is super subjective. This goofy thing right over here, there's no scientific to it. It's just anything that I put out of 5 is a thing where I'm trying to put myself in the position of a rap consumer, somebody who has listened to rap in its current state, and they hear this and they say, whoa, that's different. That's not what I'm used to hearing. This doesn't sound like everything else. So I'm an old fool from the old school. So the first, I'm going back to 1982 with the message.
Copyright. Goblins, stay back. Copyright. Goblins, stay back.
The message, it's actually by a guy named Duke Booty. He's the guy who wrote the beat. Oh, by the way, am I going to include the music into this? I don't know. I'm going to try, okay? I'm going to try to put the music into this, but if I didn't, then that means I got copyright struck and I just can't possibly do it. So I'll have a playlist linked in the description, and all of these songs you should be known, and hell, I'll even sing them for you so you understand. Okay? Most of the songs you should probably know. All right? So why do I think the message belongs there, you know? Listen, he was on Sugar Hill Records. As a matter of fact, Duke Booty was like just one of the studio musicians who played on Sugar Hill Records, Sugar Hill Records music, right? He's just a studio musician who came up with this beat. And I remember the first time I heard it, when Puffy covered it. Did you just throw something at the screen? I don't blame you. That's the way it was back in the 90s. We didn't have access to all of hip-hop history. If you were born in a certain time, you did not hear this. You just heard Puffy and Mace do a bastardization of it, okay? I remember hearing the beat and thinking, what is this? It's so loopy and freaky. And yeah, back in the day, rap songs were super long because they were also disco songs. So you had to be there for a long time. So, you know, The Breaks by Curtis Blow is like 11 minutes long. And at the time, it's sort of what I call disco rap, was what mainstream rap was. The songs had to be 7 to 8 minutes or longer. They had to be danceable, and they had to be played by actual musicians because they were afraid of getting copyright struck themselves, okay? So this song shows what happens when you're not just trying to imitate a pre-existing musician. You're not just trying to sound like other people, like a sample, like an old soul or disco, whatever. Like, you're actually making some pretty far out music. And if you take out Melly Mel's rapping and Duke Booty's rapping, the instrumental itself is absolutely wild. If that came out right now, and the first time you ever heard it, you would be like, damn, that's funky. The rhythm, the stutter step that's going on here, the space that Duke Booty gives that. There's a reason that it's voted the best song in rap history, and it's not just because it has the best verse in rap history. So that's the sort of like, this is what I'm talking about, the art of hip-hop and the art of rap production. Like, the second hit in rap history, the first one being Rapper's Delight, the second hit being this. Not only did it introduce the idea that rap can talk about political issues, but that it can really make fascinating, far-out, avant-garde music. The second song. Okay, what if the second rock and roll song that made it big was, I don't know, Heroin? You know what I mean? By Velvet Underground, right? As opposed to, I don't know, Rock Around the Clock, okay? So, here we have this great, expansive disco heritage, just gigantic moment. And then, 1 year later, we have Sucka MCs by Run DMC.
Copyright. Copyright. Goblins, go away. Copyright.
Two years ago, when my told me, what? Wait. Within 1 year, we went from to the most raw sounding, just straight up drum machine and voice. The most fantastically arranged and coordinated by I don't know, some kind of very forward-thinking electronic musician who sadly ended up never getting his props and ended up becoming a teacher in the New Jersey school district. So hey, the guy led a good life. And then you have Larry Smith, who produced this, just coming out with the brutality and the simplicity of what rap music could be. Within a year, After rap music had been dismissed basically as a fad because Rapper's Delight wasn't really taking off, and okay, so Blondie does it a little bit, and Fab Five Freddy's a little bit famous, and okay, it can be taken seriously. Let's listen to this crazy stuff. And then, like, it's just a drum machine. It's just a drum machine. That's it. It's a drum machine and a voice. When I talk about rap music, I talk about it a lot, and I talk about how it is two things. It is, most importantly, okay, a Black American cultural expression about the Black American cultural experience. Great. It is also the voice of the voiceless across the world. Anybody who has no voice can find a voice through rap music. Part of the reason why is because all you need is a drum machine or just someone saying the ability. Anyone can rap. You don't have to dress like a YMCA Village People kind of situation. You can just dress in your normal clothes. You can just rap with a normal voice, and you can just have a hard ass beat. This is what I'm talking about. You might hear the song and go, yeah, it's just a drum machine. It's just that. It was, at the time, for the people listening to it, an absolute fist in your face. Okay. 1982. 1983. I'm going to skip 1984. A lot of great beats in 1984. But hey, I'm getting ready to have a baby here. Well, I'm not going to have a baby. My wife's getting ready to have a baby. I'm doing a lot of preparation. I'm getting my go bag together. I'm meeting with the doula, okay? Let's skip to 1985. Schoolie D, PSK.
Copyright Goblins. Stay away. This is fair use of PSK.
Now, this is the first song which you might not know. You probably know it from Notorious B.I.G.'s version. You know, B.I.G., what does it mean, right? That beat. It's wild because in a way, and I'm just kind of riffing here, in a way it's sort of like the bizarreness of Grandmaster Flash had a baby with the directness of Run DMC, and that was Schoolie D, who self-produced the very first gangster rap song that, okay, I mean, it starts off with this like quote of Ming the Merciless and a Flash Gordon album. This beat, you can play it anywhere on planet Earth. It is completely infectious, and it is totally avant-garde because it starts and it stops. The space that is given to this song. And what's wild is that this baby had babies. When people realized we got to start making gangster rap, they based it on Schoolie D's production on this. If Schoolie D made the first gangster rap song and it sounded like Grandmaster Flash or whatever, maybe it would have sounded differently, but it didn't. It sounded like this. So when Ice-T and Evil E, and Africa Islam made 6 a.m. police at my door, they copied this. Ice-T called Schoolie D on the phone and said, hey, I'm going to bite your style. Is that okay? I'm paraphrasing. If you listen to 6 a.m, it's the same basic idea. Stopping and starting and giving space for the nastiest, meanest crime raps. What's wild is at the same time as we have these production developments, we're also having thematic developments where we have the first real political rap to hit the mainstream. The first kind of like, I'm just a raw rapper and this is how we rap on the streets. And then the first gangster rap talking about having money and making cream and being a part of a gang. You know what I'm saying? And then after 6 a.m, Dr. Dre hears that, and then when he gets going and he makes Boys in the Hood for Eazy-E, what does it do? It starts and stops and sounds, has all this space and all this rap. It required this. You cannot get to Boys in the Hood, and therefore you cannot get to all the trap music that came after it if you don't first have this weirdo out of Philadelphia, who, by the way, has a very awkward sex scene in a movie starring Asia Argento, the daughter of Dario Argento. I think it's called like Scarlet Diva. I saw it a long time ago in France. It's a very awkward sex scene with a very old Schoolie D. Check it out. That, neither here nor there. That right there, without this, you just don't have any of that. and it is completely wild. And still to this day, if you hear it, you just can't believe it. Now, let's go to 1986. I thought a lot about this because if you don't know, I did a whole thing about my favorite producers. One of my favorite producers of all time is Marley Marl. I grew up on his music because I love Biz Markie. I thought about putting, make the music with your mouth biz because it uses beatboxing. There's no beatboxing on this. I apologize. I probably should include some beatboxing. I should have included La Di Dottie. I screwed up. Okay, La Di Dottie's not on this list. You can type it in the comments. L list, Professor Sky. I am even holding this up backwards. L list, Professor Sky. Okay? But I'm going with The Bridge, the song for MC Shan.
Goblins, stay away. It's the bridge. No trolls under the bridge.
Now this is another song that you might not know. This shows what Marley Marl is able to do in the realm of sampling. He is the master of sampling and of triggered samples on a drum machine and of making interesting sounds. He also is the master of doing something called ghost notes, which he took from Clyde Stubblefield, the drummer who did the funky drummer beat for James Brown. Like, he figured out how to make these beats sound a little bit more full. He takes a song called Scratching by the Magic Disco Machine. And okay, so it's a disco sample, but he reversed it so that it sounds completely wild. Wah, wah, wah. Wah, wah, wah. Wah, wah, wah. Again, the space that's given to this. This insanely noisy thing. You can, fortunately. He does a breakdown of his own beats. It's on, what's it called? There's some website, there's some YouTube. It's called like Dubwise. Anyways, check it out. I'll include a link to it in the comments. He describes making this beat and he just shows. So, of course, this is like the most famous, probably the most famous song in the Bronx and Queens beef about the history of hip-hop. The first real question of like, where does hip-hop come from in hip-hop history? Is like a battle in here in this part, right? Back in the bridge. Again, that's as we see, as the art form of the music is developed, so is the art form of the content, not just the form of the music, but holy cow, the song, the bridge, even the sample, the bridge, Queens Bridge. He is just doing something that we are still trying to catch up to, not just with backward sounds, but with these great triggered sounds, and his ability to make these drum beats that sound so full, and it's just absolute noisiness. And speaking of noisiness, we've now gone from 1986 to 1987. You knew they had to show up. Public Enemy. I'm going to say Public Enemy
Number one. What goes on? Yep. Goblins. Copyright Goblins. Stay away. Copyright Goblins.
Now listen. Public Enemy are going to make 2 appearances on this list because they are just that avant-garde. They are just that ahead of their time. Okay? This song. Wow, 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 wow. Please listen to the song on YouTube. Follow the playlist. I hope I was able to put the song into this video. I doubt I'll be able to because them copyright goblins, they hate it when you put in music from more than one source because you have different people fighting over who's going to take the money for my efforts. You know what I'm saying? What goes on? Everything about this, like Flavor Flav talking in the beginning, it's just way out there. It's just way up front. It's just too much. And then like this James Brown, it's a sample of Fred Wesley, Blow Your Horn, and Damn Right I'm Somebody. And it's got this, it's a droning sound. What goes on? And then you have this drum beat in the back, from James Brown. And it's almost like the same drum beat that you have in Schoolie D. But the drone is going the whole way through. And then you have some scratching in there. It's actually scratching up the one from AJ Scratch by Curtis Blow, and then it's it's just the whole thing. It's just so rich and so layered. And that's the thing. As sampling becomes more and more important on this list, before it'll become less and less important on this list as we hit the 90s and Biz Markie gets sued by Gilbert O'Sullivan. A pox on your name, Gilbert O'Sullivan. I hope you are alone again and forever for ruining this art. Was it worth it? Was it worth the money that you got by ruining like one of Biz Marquis's best songs? I was on my way to 125th. All right, I could do the whole song, start to finish, but I'm not going to. This is not the 90s video. This is the 80s video. And what's great is that this first album, every single track on here just shows their desire to do what they say, which was to destroy music. That was their goal. Their stated goal was to destroy music. But then 1 year later, 1 year later, okay? I'm impressed. I'm super impressed by, a lot of artists, rap artists who come out with such great stuff. Conway the Machine can come out with 2 or 3 great projects and 2 or 3 fine projects a year, and that's really impressive. Whatever. Billy Woods is on absolute fire, JPEG Mafia, all that. But I'm sorry, okay? You are not going to beat this 2-year run. Okay? Because I'm going to have to say Rebel Without a Pause, one of their biggest songs.
Goblins. Copyright. Goblins.
Best example. Whenever I need to give the example, like, hey, what do you mean by they were trying to destroy music? This sample from The Grunt, from, again, the JBs, still in the James... What's wild is James Brown was everywhere in the 80s in rap music. James Brown samples were everywhere. I mean, you hear Marley Marl talk about it a lot as well. He talks about just like, whenever you need to get the crowd going, you had to go do Impeach the President or Funky Drummer by James Brown, right? Like, it was all over the place. But they were doing, like, James Brown adjacent samples, like the JBs, right? It's not exactly James Brown, but he was producing them. And it's the sound... It's just the loudest, most agitating sound. I have a vivid memory. I must have been 12, 13 years old. And my mom, she said, hey, explain to me what rap music is. I want to understand better. Okay? And I played her this. And this was before the internet, my friends. Okay, this is before you had YouTube videos like, playing Skrillex to my dad. Oh my God. Blah, 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 blah. All before that stuff, okay? We were doing that way back then. We were freaking out old people with cool avant-garde music. Of course, my parents were Frank Zappa fans, so they weren't that freaked out. But still, the aggravation and the scratching and the don't know what this world is coming to, sampled by Jesse Jackson, who had just run for president, actually, the year before. It's great because we have all the sort of aggravation and avant-garde instincts of Schoolie D, but then, of course, you have the political elements of the message really brought out. And again, the aggravation, the anger, the black power that is explicit in their music is explicit in their lyrics is implied in their music because there's all these great black voices, great black samples, but made in such a way that it makes a honky uncomfortable because it is so loud and so aggressive. Too black, too proud. Okay, you hear Toby down there? See, Toby's helping me out. He's like the bomb squad down there. He's trying to ruin this video. All right. The last one, 1989. Okay.
Copyright. Goblins.
Okay, listen. This is not the right De La Soul. Did you take my De La Soul CDs? Now listen, I never had their third album on CD. I had that on cassette. I have Stakes is High somewhere in the house. I cannot find 3 Feet High and Rising and De La Soul is Dead. So somebody took those CDs at some point in the last 20 years. And it could be... Tell me in the comments. If it's you, I won't even press charges. I just want to know what happened to my copy of 3 Feet High and Rising. I guess I'll have to track it down. So pretend this is 3 Feet High and Rising. And listen, you'll notice I'm kind of doing a lot of greatest hits because that's the whole point. Every single one of these songs is a hit for the band. And that's the point, is that this is how the art grew. You're not going to have some B-side nothingness, like this is what's dragging the art forward. And I'm going with The Magic Number by De La Soul. Produced by De La Soul, and most importantly, Prince Paul. So all the way throughout the 80s here, as I'm trying to talk about avant-garde rap beats, By the end of the 90s, we're going to be talking about things like Swizz Beatz, where we're just getting away from sampling because you can't make money and sample at the same time, sadly enough. But here we're reaching the apex of sampling with Prince Paul. We'll probably get to him with Handsome Boy Modeling School when we get to the 90s video as well, if I ever make that video. I don't think I'm having any more kids, though. 4 kids is too many. But this shows, like most of Prince Paul's work, especially Prince Paul's work with De La Soul, that's not true. Most of Prince Paul's work in general, including his work with, and you see what happens to De La Soul when they lose Prince Paul. They're still a good band, but they're not De La Soul. If you go to whosampled.com, great website, it's like 11 samples. Of course, you have the Schoolhouse Rock sample. I did not watch Schoolhouse Rock years old, okay? I'm a Gen Xer who, there's a certain age of Gen Xer who never listened to or understood Kiss, the band with the makeup. Whatever. I'm almost 47, okay? And 47-year-olds do not have a relationship to Kiss. 50-year-olds do. I don't know what to tell you, okay? 30-year-olds do because they were through the Kiss renaissance. The other thing is, I never watched Schoolhouse Rock, but I'm now aware of it because in the 90s there was a resurgence of Schoolhouse Rock nostalgia. Schoolhouse Rock was a TV show that tried to teach things with awesome, cool 70s funky cartoons. You know, the most famous for I'm Just a Bill on Capitol Hill and The Magic Number. It's a magic, and it's a dope sample, and that's the thing. Like, you think about it, like, I talk about how nerdy rap is all the time because, like, when you listen to a lot of rap, it's just a lot of nerds. It's not just Open Mike Eagle and JPEG Mafia talking about anime. You know, it's also a lot of rappers talking about wrestling. And I got news for you: if you're really into wrestling, you're a nerd. And I'm okay. Hey, I'm a nerd 10 different ways. I happen to not be a wrestling nerd, but it's part of what makes hip hop, I think, universal. Is that, you know, it's part of consumer society, and part of consumer society is nerddom and fanaticism, and this kind of offbeat thing is maybe why they had such great crossover success, maybe why it was played in the goddamn Spider-Man soundtracks, that's why everybody knows it. But just that sample, the idea of going back to something so old, again, it's capitalizing on nostalgia, it's capitalizing on nerd culture while bringing the art of sampling to a whole new realm, and that when you get to your J Dillas, then they're going to be very clearly inspired by and building on what Prince Paul is doing with De La Soul. Imagine Larry Smith producing De La Soul, okay? Right? Like, it would still be good because De La Soul's a good band. I mean, they're good rappers, you know. They're very good. Excellent, even. But come on. So you got that sample. You got a whole bunch of samples from Double D and Steinsky, who themselves were sampling The Crunge by Led Zeppelin. That's the drum beat. A very weird drum break to choose because it's a very stilted, funky, weird thing. And then this, like, Johnny Cash sample, How High's the Water Mama? I used to think he said, How High's the Water, Bob? I have a really good friend from North Carolina. His name is Bob. Accountant. I think he's an accountant. Maybe he's in tech. Very straight-laced guy. We're good friends. I freak him out. I intimidate him. I don't mean to. He's a very, very, very nice guy. He's like one of my favorite people. And every single time I see him, I say, How high's the water, Bob? Because that's what I thought he said in this sample. And that's the other thing that this album does, that De La Soul does. And Beastie Boys also did it, I think. And Public Enemy for that matter. But, like, use samples in a way that, like, it becomes like a meme. Like using samples in a way that young people hear it, and then that becomes sort of like shorthand ways to communicate things. So, you know, anybody in the audience ever get hit by a car? A weird sample from Eddie Murphy? You know, that kind of sample, that kind of little word that's in there. How high's the water, mama? That kind of thing. Like, it just enters your brain. And he's also sampling Syl Johnson and the Fatback Band and the Skinny Boys. My brother Amos. He had a Skinny Boys album. We used to listen to Skinny Boys. Rudy Ray Moore and even Run DMC. And then the weirdest thing, LaGuardia, like the guy who they named the terrible airport after. Not JFK, the other guy they named the other terrible airport after. Like, he's talking about comic books, saying, what does it all mean? Just all these things stitched together in a tapestry that is absolutely amazing. And there's even Okay, listen. Paul, you out there? Stop stunting. Stop He sampled Funky Drummer. Wow. Wow, Sky. How avant-garde can you be? He didn't sample the drum break. He sampled the part where James Brown says he's going to come back in at the end of the drum break. If you've ever listened to Funky Drummer, like I have 1,000 times, listen to the whole song. It's a great moment. And he says, I'm going to come back in. 1, 2, 3, 4. And they cut that to the 1, 2, 3. He's stunting. He's showing off. He's showing all of the different ways that he can bring these samples together and taking the most stock, the most used sample of all time and taking it from a different spot. So that's the 80s. We're not even at the Wu-Tang, okay? We're not there. We're not at Pharrell. We're just in the 80s. So you tell me, what do you want to see in the 90s? What are your favorite freak out fives? What are your favorite freak out fives, of the 80s, of the 90s? What did I miss? Besides Lottie Dottie, Jesus, that was a big miss. I'm already thinking, probably there's a Beastie Boys song in there because they were so influential on NWA and therefore so influential on everything else. Probably. It's like no Rick Rubin on there either. God, I mean, the King of Rock. I mean, it's a pop song, but at the same time, I could just get lost here forever. So anyways, I hope you're doing well. I hope my baby's doing well. And hey, go eat some pudding for me, would you? All right, until next time, there's the camera. Yeah, I'm not like my hair's not done. I'm just sitting here. I'm just feeding my baby some yogurt. And I thought, why don't I actually put forward some merch? If you're this late in the video, maybe you want to see the merch that I made based on this video. I don't know how to sell stuff, okay? I don't know how to be like, I got 3 minutes of ads at the top of the hour. And I don't know how to do all that. So let me just show you the merch that I made. And if you dig it, then then I guess you can buy it. I'm actually going to show you like totally behind the scenes here. I'm going to show you my the page, like the actual page of my listing. And I can just keep eating yogurt. All right, so check it out. Right, I made an avant-gardometer, like shirt and mug and stuff. Okay, so here we're gonna edit or add designs. I'm gonna show you what it looks like. Okay, do you want to know how many of these I've sold so far? 0. So you could be the first. Yeah, external. Okay, that's cool. All right, so I want you to check it out. So we have the die cut sticker, which is cool. That's just the avant-gardometer. Put that on your laptop. You'd be the cool guy, the cool lady, the cool MB who's got the sticker. But check out this shirt. I just fine-tuned the shirt. So there it is, right? You rock it out on the front. It says Professor Sky's record review. You know what I'm saying? And then check this out. Check it out on the back. All the songs from volume 1. So people could be behind you and they could be like, what is that? They might sort of get it. That's the idea. They might sort of get it. If they're into rap music, they probably know that if they see the word sucker, they're going to think, okay, Run DMC. You might get dress coded at your high school, kids. Be careful, and they might know PSK, but they might try to sort of put it all together. And I think if you're in front of like a real hip hop head and they've never heard of this channel, never seen this video, they're going to see this and they're just going to be like, damn, I totally get that. That's awesome. What a cool thing. What a cool, awesome person you are for buying merch. So anyways, there it is. I did it. I'm and my mug. I'm actually drinking from my mug. Hand wash only. I gotta be honest. If you put this in a dishwasher, it'll take like 10 washes and then I'll go away. I know you're doing great over there. You got your muesli, got your yogurt, got your blueberries and the yogurt. All right. Well, anyways, help me buy more yogurt and buy my merch.